These are a few experiences and stories from my mission. West Central States, fall of '67 to the fall of '69. I love my mission. It was headquartered in Billings, Montana. Included almost all of Wyoming, all of Montana, the western half of the Dakotas, and southeastern Idaho. And I love my mission, had some wonderful experiences, but these will be some of the lighter experiences. The day that I arrived in Rawlins, Wyoming, my first area, I said to my companion, "Wow, it's windy today." And he said, "No, it's not, Elder. It's like this every day." And that was no kidding. It was 30, 40 mile an hour winds. The trees were just swaying all of the time. The experience that I had in Pocatello, my second area, we were, one time we decided it'd be a really good idea if we did a little extra things for the sister missionaries at night on their car and their apartments. So we gathered up some toilet paper. I mentioned earlier my next to last, that my last toilet papering experience was coming up. This was the last one. And we decided, led by our fearless zone leader, Elder Clifford DeGraw, and also including Britt Ripley and other missionaries in Pocatello, that we went over. It was on Sunday night because, of course, Monday was our day off, so it didn't count if we were there on Sunday night late. So we went over on Sunday night, had on our preparation day clothes, and we began toilet papering the sister's apartment. And we also decided that it'd be a real good idea if we put just a couple of small rocks right in their hubcaps. The old Valiants had little hubcaps about like that. And then when they would drive, that would sound like a wheel bearing was going out or something was happening that they'd have to go get fixed. So we pried off the hubcaps, put in the rocks, did our toilet papering. And as we did that, we were right in the middle of the project when Elder DeGraw said, "It's the cops!" And I was standing on the front porch. I'd been wrapping some toilet paper around these pillars that were about this big around. And I was on, and I looked, and there was a patrol car coming down. Its lights were off. It was in the winter. It was about February of 1968, and they had on studs on their tires, their snow tires, and I could hear that clickety clack on the road, and their lights were off. And I had nowhere to go. I couldn't go anywhere because they were only 100 feet down the road. So I stood behind one of those pillars, and I just kind of edged my way around as they came down the street. I just edged my way around that pillar, and Elder DeGraw jumped into a stairwell. It was actually the sister's basement apartment stairwell. Britt Ripley had on he was from Arizona, so he was afraid of the cold, so he had this great big giant Eskimo type looking jacket with a fur thing on it. So he ran in the backyard and covered his head thinking that would do it. Elder DeGraw got out, and I'll just tell this anyway on him. Elder DeGraw got out, and he walked up to the police car, and he didn't dare tell them that we were missionaries because that would not be good. So he just said, "Well, we're some students from Idaho State University, and we're here just doing a little work on some of our girlfriends' apartments." And that's where he left it. You've heard the scripture, "Many are called, but few are chosen." Well, this next story is many were cold, and one was near frozen. This happened in the winter. It would have been November of 1968, Georgetown Lake, not too far from Anaconda, Montana. I was stationed in Butte, and there were 4 of us elders that went fishing. We'd heard exactly how from a member that we could catch sockeye salmon. We were up for fishing and for some free food, so we all headed over one Monday day off to Georgetown Lake, and we had good success. And what you would do is you'd hook 2 large treble hooks about this far away on a heavy line. It was about a 30-pound woven line. It was lime green, I remember. And you would just throw that out in the lake. But the second time we went, there was ice on the lake, and it was a little dangerous, but we went out on there anyway, broke some holes in the ice, and the ice wasn't very thick. It was only about 2 or 2.5 inches thick. And we fished, and we caught a fair number of fish. And in the afternoon, about 1 or 1:30, I went back to the car to get something. And as I went back to get in the car, all of a sudden, real close to shore, it was just whoosh right up to here. And I was up to here, and my breath just went like that. It was just a physical reaction. I've heard later that that's what happened, and it just took my breath away. It was just such a shock. And my companion, Elder Moon, says, "Stay in there, Elder Nelson, I'll take a picture of you." I wasn't even listening to staying in the ice water. I bailed out of there and rolled out of there and went to shore and had to get in the car, another Valiant, so that I could get warmed up. So that was the case of many missionaries were cold, and one was nearly frozen. I'll tell the story of one of my companions, my last companion in the mission home, was in Billings, Montana in the spring and summer of 1969, was Elder Keith Johnson from Mesa, Arizona. And he was a terrific elder and wonderful companion. And he was a big, tall guy, about 6'4", and weighed about 195. And he played basketball. He was a great basketball player, and he was real tough on the basketball court. And he said something about, "I heard you were a wrestler at one time." I said, "Yes, I did. Yes, I was." He said, "We'll have to wrestle." And I just, in an offhand comment, just says, "I'd pin you in a minute." Boy, that did it. He said, "You may beat me, but you won't pin me." And I says, I just kind of forgot it. I was just kind of waving it off, and I wasn't. And every once in a while, about every couple of weeks or so, I'd say, "We got to wrestle." And so this one time, about a month later, on our day off, the whole mission home was going out to out to one of the Indian reservations where they had the Custer Battle of the Little Bighorn reenactment, and it was the Indians' one moment of glory, of course, and it had a couple of hundred Indians and about 50 or 60 people representing the U.S. Army, and they had this enactment. Well, before we went, we were just dressing our Levi's, and Elder Johnson said, "This is it, Elder Nelson. We're going to wrestle right now." And I said, "Okay." So the whole mission staff was around there, including the mission cook and the mission caretaker. They had a husband and wife, and one cooked and one took care of the grounds. And I said, "All right." So Elder Gilbert was the timekeeper, and we were going to wrestle for 1 minute, and that was it. And I guess Elder Johnson really thought that he was going to, not only wasn't going to get pinned, but he was going to beat me, because as soon as the timekeeper said go, he came after me, and he was a little hard to handle because he outweighed me about 35 pounds, and he was tall, and he was pretty strong, and he tried to take me down, and then I made a couple moves, and I took him down, and then he turned wrong, and I cinched down on him, and I was in pretty good shape even then. I cinched down on him and pinned him, and it was 45 seconds, and he got up, and he was a little sheepish about it, and the mission cook said, "Elder Nelson, I didn't know you had that in you." It was just I just kind of waved it off, but he was a great companion, one of my favorites. He went on to become the Arizona State Taekwondo heavyweight champion. By then he weighed about 220 or 225, but I guess he did love to fight, but that was an interesting experience. The next experience that I have is titled "Elder Bear Goes Home." And in Billings, and throughout my mission really, I used to receive from one particular girl letters that were addressed to Elder Bear. Teddy Bear, meaning Elder Teddy Bear. And so these would be addressed to Elder Bear, and I used to get some teasing about it. But I had several of those, so when it came time to go home from my mission, they had one tradition, and that was that every missionary that was leaving, they would cut your tie off right at about 4 inches below the knot. And so, of course, you wore one of your least favorite or your worst tie because you knew it'd be cut off. Well, what happened to me is as they took me to the airport in Billings to fly to Salt Lake in September of 1969, they cut off my tie, and they also handed me a stuffed teddy bear about that tall and stuck up my arms. My bags were already checked, and there was nowhere to put it, so I had to go on the plane with a cut tie and a teddy bear. And I must have told that story between the plane and arriving home. I must have told that story 100 times, explaining what had happened. It got a little boring for, especially for me at least. Well, those are some of the just lighter moments from the mission. It was a wonderful experience, and those were just light moments. I'll leave those with you.